Okay, we are going to try this one more time. Hattie switched something on her Wi-Fi, so hopefully it will work this time. And if not, what we're going to do is we'll just like cancel the go live for tonight. And we will just do a Zoom chat real quick. And then, oh, there you are.
Is it working a little bit?
Okay, so far, but
Okay.
how's your day been?
My day's been pretty good. How's your day been?
Has its ups and downs, but it's okay.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Okay, I think you're good. I think we're working here.
Okay, it definitely seems to be working like way better than it was. So
Cooking with gas over here, sis.
Yeah.
Cooking with gas.
Yeah, see how long this holds out for us. Hopefully it doesn't crash again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, okay. Real quick, I'm Hannah.
I'm Hattie.
And we are the Book War. We are what consists of the Book War.
Yes.
Sisters living halfway across the country from each other.
Yeah.
And tonight, for our Biblio talk, we are discussing The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, which we have both read and we have not talked to each other about yet.
No, we have not. That's a first. I don't know that we've ever actually done this without at least like just a real like brief before.
So our July theme seems like a weird word, but basically theme. Yeah. Our July theme was beach reads, and we picked a romance and a mystery, a light mystery.
Yes.
It was a light mystery.
It was light, yeah.
And we didn't read the romance novel. Neither one of us did. So we didn't talk about that. But we did both read this one. So yeah. This is more, I'm going to just say this, it's more in line with what Hattie reads, but it was actually my pick. Yeah. I had heard about this on Graham Norton. Richard Osman was actually on Graham Norton 2 years ago when this book came out, and it just sounded super, super interesting. I loved the premise of it, and I will say I still love the premise of this. The execution left a lot to be desired.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I don't know where you would rate this, Hattie, but I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to write a review of this. This is like, and I don't have a lot of them, but I think this is like a 2-star book for me.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm like in the 2 to 3 range as well. It definitely didn't do it for me either.
I don't have anything. I think the part that's like both making it a 2 for me is almost that I don't, it's like so that I don't even have anything mean to say about it, which makes it like less good for me for some reason. Like there's not something I can like cling to be like, oh my god, this is so annoying, but I don't even have that. So I'm kind of like, I think it's a 2. I would never recommend it to anybody.
No, I wouldn't either. And that's the funny thing too, because I think we need to actually explain like the premise of it, of why it's sort of like appealing and like how it actually sort of like fell considerably flat. So basically, so the basic idea, like the premise that sort of is like, oh, this is going to be so great, this would be super fun read, is that it's this group of folks who live actually like in an old folks community. Just, you know, it's not even assisted living, it's more just like
a retirement community
of like retired people, you know. They're all, you know, very active folk, and they can, you know, most of them are around about doing things. And so there was sort of this like, oh, this will be like super kind of fun. It'll be like this group of sort of quirky, like old people, so to speak, right?
Which are great.
I know. I love quirky old people. I love quirky people in general, like quirky old people. Like I love old people so much. And so I think that's the thing that like super appealing, this idea that like this like group of quirky old people were going to sort of like follow this investigation and sort of like solve this kind of like mystery, right? Which is like a really clever,
great premise.
It
is still a great premise.
It is.
I just want to say, like, I still think it is an incredible premise for a book.
Yeah. I agree.
I would like Richard Osman to not write it anymore.
Yeah, I will just say, and I think there's a couple ways that it fell flat for me. First off, the writing was just sort of like ho-hum, kind of like boring, not that great. The thing that I was expecting that I didn't get, that was a huge disappointment, was humor.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Keep going. I want to hear the other part. That
okay. Well, that was the one that I just thought of going into it. I was really thinking, oh, this is going to be sort of one of these sort of laugh out loud funny things that these people are going to do these quirky weird things. Right. They'll always turn out okay, but it'll be sort of a funny sort of ride. Right. I don't know that I ever laughed at all.
I think it was supposed to be funny. I do think that's a really tricky one because I would agree with you. There was no outright laughter in it.
Yeah.
I think for me, what was the most flat part was I went into it really expecting to fall in love with these characters, with these, the people in the Thursday Murder Club, these really unique personalities. And I loved how he set it up at the beginning where they didn't know each other before. This is this thing that very distinct people with very distinct backgrounds. And, but I did not find any of the characters really endearing. The only one that came close to me was Ibrahim.
Yeah, yeah.
And I liked Elizabeth's plot line. Mm-hmm. I liked her plot line. I liked the role that she was playing in the larger club, but she's not an Indian character, which she's not supposed to be, which I also get. But I didn't like her.
Yeah.
I didn't connect to Ron or Joyce, and Joyce is the one telling the story a little bit.
Yeah, doing this whole diary thing, sort of.
Right, the diary part, and I feel it's I don't know, I don't, and I can't actually, I don't know if I can articulate exactly why, but there just was not enough meat on the bones characterization wise, and it is a character driven novel. Yeah. It's a whodunit with a group of people kind of thing. And even Donna or was it Chris, either one of those, the actual police.
The two detectives, right? Yeah.
Right, the detectives. And he tried, and I could see the...
Yep, there's glimmers, but that's all he ever got.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It just never quite coalesced. And I was thinking about this last night too, after I finished it just last night, by the way. Because it actually took me a lot longer to finish because I didn't care.
Yeah.
I was I don't care anymore.
Yeah. I read it on an airplane. It was the only thing that I had. So for me, it was okay, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. And I had 3 hours to do it, you know? So for me, it wasn't sort of, there wasn't that whole I think I'm just agreeing with you that if I'd read it under normal circumstances, right, it would have been a little bit of a slog. But it was literally this is the book that I have to read it. It's on the plane. I got 3 hours, and that's what I did, you know? Yeah.
I'm just so disappointed as well because, so I actually ended up in my procrastination of finishing this book yesterday, I actually came across a booktuber, Jack Edwards, who I watch quite a bit of his, and he's, I believe he's in the UK. Okay. That's where he's based. And he did a video about popular books that you would never probably ever see him read. And he put a probably 500 times because he's I'll probably read them too, but I won't read them. Yeah. But this was on there. Yeah. And so I watched it to see what he said. And he had mentioned it was a huge bestseller in the UK. It exploded. It was huge. And Richard Osman is a real personality. He's a TV personality in the UK. But Jack said, he was but everybody I know who read it, no one said anything about it. Yeah. It was just I read it.
I read it.
And that is exactly how I felt about it. It's I read it.
Yeah.
It's a great premise. It didn't quite come to fruition. It just fell flat.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because isn't there a second one out as well right now?
Called the
Group of People, probably, right?
The Man Who Died Twice.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think he got really convoluted in trying to weave the mystery part, and I was just by the end I was just I actually don't care.
Can I just be done
at this point?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was getting very graduate student reading by the last few chapters where it's okay, we're skimming, hit the high notes, get the important parts, and just sort of get done with this thing. I'm almost to Texas, and I gotta get off this plane. I gotta get a move on here.
Right, yeah. So I don't know. I just it was a disappointing read.
Yeah,
but
I totally agree with you on that. And it was funny because when I was done with it, I'm well, I wonder if I was just sort of disappointed because I like kind of like read it like really sort of like in this like super confined space, and I was just like, I don't know, like sometimes you get a different impression of things, you know, when you're sort of under pressure or whatever, if you feel like that. But it was, I read so many mystery books, and it was just like, oh yeah, okay. There was literally just nothing special about the book itself. I totally agree with you. The premise is special, and it could have been amazing, and I wish it had been amazing. But it, and I was going to say that about the plot as well. You kind of touched on it already, but there's sort of like, it's like almost overly complicated. Like you have to have like a complicated sort of thing to like keep your reader like interested, right? But there is a point at which it becomes like overly complicated to like, wait a minute, who, what?
Right. And like these side characters, like, this is, I do not read a ton of mysteries. So I want to say that outright, that I do not read a lot of mysteries. So you correct me if I'm wrong here. But one of the things that was just like driving me a little crazy with this is there's all of this like foreshadowing, right? To specific people who done it. They did it. But then instead of like just like a quick like no and like explanation, it becomes this like other long explanation and like deep connective tissue-y stuff, and I'm just like, I don't so like, and I feel like that's why we didn't get as much about the
characters,
the 4 main characters, or the 6 main characters, I guess, if you want to include the detectives, that group, because we were doing this like with the priest
3 or 4 or 5 like surrounding characters,
Joyce's boyfriend, and with Jason the boxer, and like we were getting and the guy who did the flowers, like like I know a lot about them, and it's only this big. It's not that, it's only 350 pages. No. So and those are like side characters that don't matter really. And I think it's like adding like so many characters in order to create the like diversion. That just did not, it didn't work for me anyway.
I totally agree.
I think I want to say, this is what I want to say. I want to say I think there is an audience for this book. And I think if you really do want just a like, I'm trying to use a different word than flat, but a really accessible, read it in 6 hours book, like plain book. And if you don't care if you like love it at the end or not, then it's a fine book. It's very, it's like so mediocre, it's not even mediocre. Like that's almost what it is, right?
That's exactly what it is. It's
like not bad enough to be bad.
It's the definition of mediocre. It is. Which makes it less than mediocre. Because like when you are exactly it, it's like, wow, that is not good. You know what I mean? Like that's not, there's nothing like offensive in the story. Like it wasn't like, you know, trash.
I don't even any trigger warnings in this or any content warnings at all.
It was just like an overly convoluted story, mystery story.
Character-driven mystery story, and you might like the characters.
Exactly.
You might. And I don't think it's a UK-US thing. Like, I don't at all. Not in this one. Like, there is sometimes that.
Sometimes there is that. Yeah, you're right.
With modern UK, I think the modern sometimes does. The humor doesn't translate the same way. There are parts of it that don't quite translate, but I don't think that was what this was.
Well, you already said, like, you know, the one or the YouTuber.
Jack Edwards is like
the people that he talked to, they're all like, we read it. And like that was it. You know, there wasn't much more to say about it. Sort of like,
and that's about all I'd say about it. I would never recommend anybody buy it.
Definitely not. I'm glad I got mine from the library.
I did not. I bought it, but that's what I have a little free library for, so that's fine.
There you go. Somebody else can be sort of semi-entertained by it.
So, okay. So we read like
whatever.
And you know what? You can't, if you read as many books as we read in a year, if you love every single one of them, then that's impressive.
That's like insane is what that is. I mean,
either you have really good taste off the bat, or
you're really not very discerning.
You're not very discerning. Which I'm really not very discerning.
I know, sometimes I do feel like, oh, it was good, it was fine, you know. But this one just really did fall flat. So.
It just fell flat. Yeah. So, and I don't think we had too high of expectations in regards to like it. I don't think it was like it set itself up really high for expectations. I don't even think it was doing that. Like, it really is a. If there's an equivalent to a B movie, right? This is a B book. It wasn't expecting to be like the next great mystery novel. It's supposed to be fun and entertaining and lighthearted and I think humorous.
I thought so. I think so. Yeah. That was a disappointment for me because that was my expectation.
And it just didn't. Okay, we're gonna stop beating that dead horse.
Yeah, we're done with that dead horse. So if you want to read it, fine. But neither one of us loved it. There you go. No. Mediocre at best.
Yes. Yep. So, Hattie, why don't you tell folks what we are doing for August, because it's sort of your thing.
Okay, so this was kind of my idea. So we were talking the other day, Hannah and I were talking about like what we're going to do for August for our Biblio talks. And so basically my entire life, I've either been in school or teaching school. So I've always, like, my whole life has been spent on the school year. So once like September starts, I know like internally it's just become part of who I am now, that I won't have time to read all like the fun books that I love. So I feel like almost every year in August I get like this hankering to just like reread that stuff that I love, those stories that I just like love every time. It doesn't matter how many times I've read them. And I read them over and over again. And I always do this like in August, because once September's here, forget about it. Not gonna have time to do that kind of stuff. So we decided to go with comfort reads for August. And ultimately I thought it'd be really fun, although it's not going to quite work out this way, if we each picked our own comfort read and maybe the other person hadn't read it yet. We're close. It's
pretty darn close.
Yeah, it's close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. So my comfort read, if you know me at all, you'll know that this is my comfort read. If you don't know me, then surprise, surprise. My comfort read is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien.
I have this edition.
Hannah's got that edition. I've got this edition.
This
edition I bought for George. I bought him this set of Lord of the Rings for our wedding. That's
wow.
That right there is 21 years old. 21 years
I
old.
really also just want to say I also bought this edition for my husband.
That one.
This is in Spanish, which I cannot read, but it is such a pretty cover, isn't it? So pretty.
It is. Is there artwork in the inside or no?
El Hobbit. Nope.
Mine has not the little teeny tiny pencil sketches in my edition.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have that. But like, look at it's just so cool. Like just seeing like the map in a different language.
I love it.
I know, it's pretty cool. It's just a cool book. So
no, that's really great. So mine's The Hobbit. So we're both gonna read The Hobbit. I've read it. Oh my gosh, let's see. I read this edition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. But this is not the edition I grew up with. So I read the edition that we had in our house growing up at least probably 3 times.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So I probably read this book probably close to 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I probably read it close to 10. Probably between 8 and 10 times that I read The Hobbit. That's how much I love it. Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
I think I've read it. So here's the problem. Is, okay, so the Lord of the Rings movies came out when I was in college, when we were in college, which is 20 years ago now, not 10. And anyway, and I know I had never read it before that, because you read it, Dad read it. I never read the Lord of the Rings. I never read The Hobbit. I mean, we had the movie that we watched with the great music.
Right,
love that movie.
We love the old animated version. Love it.
So I didn't know the Hobbit story, but I think when I was in college and the Lord of the Rings books came out, I think I did end up reading The Hobbit once, but I have not. I think I did, but I know the story so well too that it's like also like kind of hard to know whether I actually read it or not.
Yeah.
We really grew up with the story, whether I read the book or
whether you read it or not. Yeah.
We grew up with that story. It's like Dune.
Yeah,
which I did
Dune.
finally read. And anyway, that's a different.
I've never read it. But I know Dune from like front to back too, because I've seen like every edition of the movie of Dune. And
of the movie.
I don't watch it. I don't even like it that much, but whatever. I'll watch it.
Our father loves it, so it's a thing. So yes, I'm actually really looking forward to it, though, sis, because I know it's not a tough read, and it has been a long time. And actually, I don't know if you know this. You probably know this, but Amazon Prime actually has a new series coming out. The Ring of Power.
Ring of Power.
And because I watch too much YouTube, I've been watching some of the stuff around that, and so then I was like, oh man, but I really do not ever want to read the trilogy again. So this is like gonna fix that, like gonna take care of that little bit of like, ooh, I kind of want to do
so much easier than the trilogy. That's why I read this one over and over again, and I've read the trilogy maybe 2 times. And like, but the Hobbit reads so much easier, so much better. Yeah, it's just a much like lighter read. It is. So, and for my book, actually, Hattie did pick it. To be clear, let's be clear. That's okay. You picked both the books last month, so I picked both books this month.
You picked both books this month. But it's not like I'm going to be sad about having to read this book.
Right?
So if you know me at all, if you've ever asked me what my favorite book in the whole world is, it is called A Town Like Alice by Neville Shute. And this is my copy from when I was growing up. It's actually Kay's copy. Aunt Kay.
Really?
It is, yeah.
That's so great.
So my Aunt Kay, my great Aunt Kay, and then my dad's copy, and he's in here. And then I have it as well. It's really beat up. I've had to tape it. So my dad bought me a couple years ago. I do have another copy of that I read most of the time. But he did buy me this other that's really nice, bound, the Neville Shute complete work. I don't have the whole works of Neville Shute, but I have a couple of them. He brought this back from Canterbury the first time he went.
Oh, how nice.
He brought me 4 of them, but this is A Town Like Alice, and I was going to read it because I read A Town Like Alice on the flight over when we went to Canterbury.
Yep.
But I was like, I'm not taking this book because I might get it messed up, and it's too pretty. So I'm also very excited to finally read this edition of A Town Like Alice. Yeah. So for those of you who don't probably know A Town Like Alice or Neville Shute does have, he's an author out of the UK, out of England. He wrote a lot around World War II. He wrote some really interesting stuff, and his most famous book is actually On the Beach, which there is a movie. It is not my favorite of his books. I hated this.
Isn't that the one about the rabbits?
No, that's Watership Down. No, he didn't write about rabbits.
Okay.
No.
I'm like,
Neville Shute.
Oh no, that's the one about the nuclear holocaust.
Yes, On the Beach is a nuclear holocaust. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but this is a book that's actually set in 3 different places in Malaysia, England, and Australia, the outback of Australia. And it's The Town Like Alice is Alice Springs, Australia. And so it's this really interesting weaving of these stories and timelines. And there's also a beautiful movie that I have watched more times than
so many times. Yeah. I've only ever seen the movie. I have never read the book. So I'm excited.
And this is the movie. These are the movie actors.
Yep.
So, but I'm excited because it has been. Well, it would have been the last time I would have read it was when we went to Canterbury.
That was
2019.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I get to read it in the pretty book. So that'll be fun.
I know. I'll have to find a really pretty edition. I'll probably buy that one. I probably won't get it from the library. I'll probably buy it. I feel like that's probably one I should probably actually own.
I mean, okay, I'm going to tell you this. So about this book is I actually, in 2020, at church, right before the pandemic, we were doing for Lent, it was Lent, and we were doing a series on storytelling and our stories and our core stories. And I was asking people to talk about or to think about what was a core story for them growing up. And not a necessarily real story, but a story that connects to them. And so I was talking about this book, and 5 people ended up getting that book and reading it, and they all liked it.
Oh, well, that's good. It's a good
So
story.
I was because there's so much in this book for me that I don't need anybody else to love this.
To love it.
I don't, because it doesn't matter, and that's not what it's about. But Neville Shute, in my estimation, spins a good yarn. He's that kind of a storyteller. and I really enjoy his yarns.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's a great writer. I don't think there's anybody who's ever read Neville Shute that's all like, what's the big deal? Like, he's a good writer. There's just, like,
I think he's a very good writer.
Yeah, he is.
The other one that I would highly recommend is actually called The Checkerboard.
As you said, The Checkerboard is the one that I've read. That one too.
And that one's great. So that's about an African American soldier in the UK during World War II as well, and like kind of what that was like.
Yeah.
And they're all love stories.
Yeah.
Most of his stuff is all love stories as well.
Yeah. So I've read like a smattering of Neville Shute, but for whatever reason, I have never read A Town Like Alice. So I'm really looking forward to it, actually.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
So you're my timekeeper. I don't have a time thing.
It is 8:27, so it's just like we're right on time to wrap it up.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. Whenever you do, again, I'm Hannah, this is Hattie, and we are The Book War. If you would like to subscribe to our Instagram or our newsletter, you can just go to www.thebookwar.com. You can also find our YouTube channel there, which just mostly has these particular videos available as well. So, yeah, thanks for being with us, and happy reading, man.
Happy reading.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, sis.
Yep. Bye-bye.